I'm a survivor of psychiatry myself. Um, I've been involved with the cross-disability movement first. I became part of the deaf community. I didn't go straight to psychosocial disability. Um, no one steered me in that direction until 2 years later. Because in the Philippines, there is no human rights advocacy group that's founded or formed by the psychosocial disability people. Of course, there are peer support groups, but they're mostly online, or they are led by psychiatrists and are contextualized in the hospitals or clinic-based. So there was really none that speaks for the sector in government spheres to represent the sector. So that's how I got into it. And then I joined Transforming Communities for Inclusion of Persons with Psychosocial Disabilities Asia in 2014. I was a delegate of the Philippine Coalition on the UN CRPD at the time. Again, we had no organization for our sector in the country. But after the 2014 TCI Asia meeting, I vowed that I would establish one when I come home. And so that's what I did. And for the last 2 years, I have been advocating very, very actively and have been engaging with a lot of government stakeholders, conferences, and policy making interactions. So that's what I've been doing. Psychosocial disability is not just those who have been diagnosed or who have self-identified, because even with the different disability groups, you will always find a psychosocial aspect of their disability. So that gave me a good grounding, a good, very, very good platform. Although I still have to make a breakthrough with organizing, because although I have been placed in a very strategic position right now, because I would be talking to government officials and I'm giving an official space, so to speak, in their stakeholders' consultations. They cannot just kick me out or ignore us. I still have yet to rally our peers under the banner of human rights advocacy, because most of them are not ready yet. I'm actually in a dilemma right now, not really in a dilemma, but one of the dilemmas being presented is the sector has just found an identity as a sector based on their diagnosis. Like, we're together because we're bipolar, we're together because we're schizo, we're together because we're all mentally ill. And some would say, I'm proud to be bipolar, proud to be mentally ill. So you could see a sense of empowerment because they're coming together as a sector. But on the one hand, on the other hand, they're still anchored on the disease model, and when you're introducing human rights, it's still very new to them. But the good thing is, several of the leaders of the peer support groups online have started to acknowledge the promise, the potential of the human rights and disability perspective in terms of establishing our identity as a sector. Because you'd see the shift slowly in the sector from I'm a mentally ill, I'm a bipolar, to I'm a person with psychosocial disability. So that's a huge shift. Plus in the Philippines, there's also, because we have a person with disability card, which entitles us, it's a social protection mechanism for the government that gives us certain privileges such as discounts and exceptions and priority lanes and so on and so forth. And in the course of this eligibility for the PWD, I came across with other disability groups that are also identifying themselves with the psychosocial disability, even if they have other physical impairments, so to speak, like persons with psoriasis. or the deaf community, or person with chronic illnesses now are coming under the psychosocial disability. Again, as well, the perspective of advocating within the sphere of cross-disability, I think it's a really good plus in pushing for the advocacy, because in lieu of vocal and public leaders from the sector, you have these more established groups, because they have established themselves for 10 years now, 15 years now, and you have them speaking together with you under the psychosocial disability banner. So that's a good thing. I have been enslaved by psychiatric treatment for 12 years before I started the alternative way. But the catalyst of that was primarily when I was introduced to the CRPD, when Bapu Trust, in collaboration with the International Disability Alliance, came to the Philippines to train our existing veteran leaders from the cross-disability movement to introduce the psychosocial disability, which at the time was a vague concept to them, was unrecognized, though they have been in the disability movement for 20 years and so on. And it was really a mind-blowing aha moment to realize that, because for so long I have been disenfranchised with my rights. So there was a big shift, like a 180-degree shift. And when I realized that I had rights, I started digging into what's the real story behind this biological model. Because if people are saying, disputing the immutability of the disease model, then there is an alternative story to that. And that's what I found out. Painfully, very excruciatingly, because I almost died or killed myself several times because of the side effects of the medicine that I was taking. And I thought it was because of the symptoms of my mental health condition all along. But it wasn't. It was actually the medications doing that. And I started getting off the meds slowly until ceased from them altogether and started doing alternative ways of recovery, from exercise and diet and animal support therapy and a lot of those things, and hypnotherapy, and I found that they have been working. But since that paradigm shift, I think it has an effect on the entirety of my well-being, because I have been liberated, and that positivity, that sense of freedom has really transformed me into an entirely different human person. What I hope to gain from INTAR, because so far, for the last 2 years, I have been collaborating and engaging with our peers from the Global South, so it's really just Asian countries. But because INTAR is a bigger platform, it's opening up a lot of aha moments, a lot of opportunities to learn that goes beyond our Asian context. So that's good. And another thing is, I have been a lone warrior in the Philippines. And when I see a lot of comrades, so to speak, fellow mental health activists, it gives me a sense of validation that what I'm doing in the Philippines, even if no matter how excruciating it is, no matter how draining it is for me, personal resources-wise, when I see them, that, oh, I'm not alone in the world, it gives that reassurance, the affirmation that indeed the disease model is really faulty, that there are alternatives to recovery that have been working, and these are translating all over the world, which gives our truth validation, which is a big contrast to what have been sold and peddled to us back home.